A little difficult to get to. Hey, there's a cow. There's a dog. There's a cow. Okay, you can see they're not suffering too profoundly. Okay, they've just come over because they saw me and they thought, hey, they associate food with people, or they could have been curious. Maybe. Let me get my finger out of there. So, 72 Daystar out in a walk and vlog, talking about animals and ethics. I've been having a conversation with a friend who's a vegetarian and is concerned. Whoa, it's rained and there's mud and it's slippery, and I'm okay. Who's concerned, like I think any ethically, morally sensitive person is, with the welfare of animals. We do benefit greatly from animals. For food, for medicine, for so many other applications that people are not even aware of, for industrial products, and what we learn from them too. So two issues: nutrition. I'm told often that the vegan diet is very healthy, and with some care it can be. I'm aware of that. But that's just it. It does take some care. It's not something that you can kind of off the shelf engage in and expect to have good results. The same with if you're just unintelligent about eating and you don't think about what you're eating, bad things result, because we have instincts that drive us to try to eat the worst things. Well, the thing is, there's an evolutionary explanation. It was really tough to get things high in fat and with lots of sugar and salt during our formative years in the Stone Age. That was tough to do. So, well, even it probably goes back much farther than that. Probably goes back far into our mammalian ancestry at least, if not farther. But those things that were very rewarding, so those reward systems got set up because they were rewarding on two levels. They were rewarding for our reproductive ability, and then they became rewarding. It tasted good. It felt good to eat that. So that's when our sort of sensibility with respect to eating got formed, and now it's a detriment today because it's really easy to make high-fat, low-nutrient, low or high-calorie, low-nutrient food. That's the easy stuff to get now. It's kind of just completely turned around. It's hard to get good quality, fresh fruits and vegetables. But I digress. If you're going to try to figure out, as a non-expert, and I'm a non-expert when it comes to nutrition, what's the best course of action? Well, there are different methodologies you could pursue, and one of them you'd want to avoid is just go, hey, I'll go and consult some experts who I know agree with me. That's a way guaranteed to, just confirm what your suspicion was, and you're not going to really get anywhere. There's not going to be any progress there. So what you'd have to do would be to take a neutral search strategy to find out what the overview of that particular area is, and that would be, I'm going to have to switch hands, sore hands today. That would probably be a much better methodology. And when I did do that methodology, I looked at a few different meta-analyses, where the science is collected together, looked carefully at a bunch of studies that followed good procedures, and then aggregated the results. And what they come out with is this. Lots of people who eat meat and vegetables have unhealthy diets, but people who, a fair comparison is to compare people who eat meat, an omnivorous diet carefully with those who eat a vegetarian diet carefully. And when you compare the two, there's just not as much tolerance for mistakes in a vegan or vegetarian diet. And so they tend to be at a little higher risk for some problems because of that. So that's what I found. So I'm really just not persuaded by when I've had vegan and vegetarian friends say, "Oh, but this diet is unhealthy and this is so much more healthy." Well, it's not apparent in the data. It's always science is an ongoing thing, but right now the best information seems to suggest that it's not a nutrition advantage that would persuade one to become vegan or vegetarian. On the other hand, ethically, now this gets, if that wasn't complicated enough, the nutrition part, the ethics part gets complicated, and I'm willing to say this: I could be persuaded, which is the really horrible arguments from some vegans, not all, of course. This is the vocal minority that I've encountered, are the ones that try to say, well, it's just like murder. It's like some big Holocaust going on. The farming and meat industry. That would hold water if you could say, go to a pig at a pig farm and say, oh, you know what? They're just giving you what you want now. They're giving you lots of nice food now and taking care of your medical needs because they're just going to eat you later. And the pig would go, oh my goodness, I never knew. As silly as that is, the silliness in that exposes the non-equivalence of raising a pig for food compared to having a death camp, which is the comparison that's made. So it's obviously just, that's just a silly position. If you want to be taken seriously, I think you really have to acknowledge the reality that it's really so different when the experience of killing a human compared to raising a pig in a relatively humane way and then butchering it in a humane way for food. There really is no comparison to be made. The people who are comparing that to some kind of Holocaust are really ought to reflect more on that. I've pretty much said this before. What do I really want to add to this? I think what can be added to it is, I think I said today, I could be persuaded to change my position on, say, how we ought to ethically treat. I use pigs as my example because I think I want to go for the throat. That's the hardest one because I've grown up where we had pigs and they're a really sensitive, clever animal. They're the ones I've observed. And so I think it's actually, I'm exposing my throat in a sense, exposing my weak point on this argument. So, in conclusion, I'd like to say, what you'd have to do is to show that a pig, longed for a future of fun, nice food trash to sort through and hoped for a wonderful future with cool mud to wallow in and regret it and lost and sorrowed and missed and all those things. And if those things could be demonstrated, then I would happily extend by the principle of reciprocity that I would lose those things if I die, and any other animal that would lose those things in their death deserves the same sort of moral significance that I would expect. That's my argument. Feel free to misunderstand it. It rarely is understood. Really, I've had a horrible track record with this, trying to communicate this to vegans. But anyways, just after a rain, and it just clears up the sky so nice. Isn't that wonderful? Anyways, 72 Day Star out.